Jackson.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Cavell.
Here.
Gingell is absent with notice. Kuhn.
Here.
Howell is not here yet. Lubes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is approving the minutes from June 15th and June 23rd, 2022. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. The next item is approval of the agenda. Who would like to make a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Hoffman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. We are at our first public comment for items on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment?
Of course.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion, and I am actually extraordinarily concerned about the lack of oversight of the Oakland Together Mental Health and Wellbeing Grant proposals that are being managed by United Way. Last year, the Grant Oversight Committee meeting was November 4th. There was no data to actually review that would constitute oversight of any financial anything. It was a simple PowerPoint. We did do, as citizens, a FOIA. Took months to get the data. I still haven't gotten through all of it, but what I have seen is unethical at best. It's not proper financial management, and I actually believe it's discriminatory against the citizens of Oakland County. So I have some real concerns that we're doing this little report. It's all a narrative. There's no financials. There's no information that's real. The last time there was actually, at the meeting, they said these people were awarded. There was a different person that was denied that became awarded. Very interesting history on that particular group. But this is all very disconcerting because we also had a veterans group that applied for very little money for an operational grant, which basically said to keep it going. A lot of these other grants were expansion grants. Common Ground was using their money to build a building, for goodness sakes. They were going to add virtual care later in the year, I think by July. So all their money is going to build a building for mental health grants, and the fact of the matter is their first prerequisite, how to determine who needed it, was looking at who gets free lunch. I'm sorry, but free lunch has absolutely nothing to do with mental health. Mental health applies to everyone that has a brain. I have mental health issues. I had a stroke. My brain is still healing. Technically, I might qualify, but no, I don't live in the correct zone. But there's a very big concern. The well-being part of the grant is the even more concerning portion, because even as it was explained by the presenter last year, when it was first brought forward, the well-being portion of the grant's allowed to use for anything. So you could buy toothbrushes or shoes for kids that maybe need clothes out of the mental health and well-being grant money. So I'm just puzzled, like how do we keep having these things? And then I know this grant exception for the opioid stimulant and substance. Woodward added $1 million for two different things on a communication in one of my notes. I don't even know for sure what he added to what, but there was $2 million that was just a communication to add to that item 7C. And then I just have a real concern whenever we talk about, oh yeah, county child care plan. Did you know that the child care savings account that was done on March 10th didn't exist in the packet until that morning? Just saying. I think it is really disconcerting to see how the lack of transparency of this Board of Commissioners when operating with the public funds continues despite
Thank you, Ms.
citizens
Kennedy.
voicing their complaints. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to talk about items on the agenda? All right, this portion of public comment is closed. We move on to communications. There are 4 items under communications. A report from the Oakland Together Mental Health and Wellbeing Nonprofit Grant, a report from the Animal Shelter and Pet Adoption Center for May 2022, a grant application exception for the fiscal year 2022 opiate, stimulant, and substance abuse site-based program. The last item is a grant application exception for the Prevent School Violence, Stop School Violence program. I have a question from Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question in regards to communication item D. I am in full support of this application. What my question is what exactly is a behavioral threat assessment team? I see the makeup of 1 full-time, 2 part-time, but what is that exactly?
I believe you were going to have your question answered now.
Morning, Commissioners. Tom Hardesty from Emergency Management, Homeland Security. So a behavioral threat assessment team, this is, it's actually, this concept has been around for a while. Some schools, some have actually been trained in it. And it is training to target behaviors, in this case for schools, students, could be staff, could even be parents, to understand what behaviors. Again, it's very much focused on not profiling, like it's not, this is a 16-year-old white male that generally does this. This is about behaviors. There's a well-substantiated training out there for this. So this is to teach the schools to put together these teams to help evaluate concerning behavior. And really the biggest goal is to try to target people in need of, most of the time, mental health treatment or intervention to proceed before incidents happen.
Well, is the team comprised of, like, is it a psychologist? Is it, do we know yet specifics?
So there are recommendations from these training on the teams. Generally, they involve executive staff from the school. Strongly recommend sociologists or psychologists be involved, a law enforcement representative. Many times there would be like what you might call an ad hoc member. It may be the teacher or principal that has familiarity with that person. But they go through training when you can do it together. We'll actually have a little more information on this. We're forming one for the county as a workplace violence prevention. So we'll be coming out with some more information on that over the next couple months. But it's really heavily geared towards interceding before an event happens, as opposed to a lot of good training for what happens after it starts, but this is to try to prevent them.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to accept communications? I have a motion by Commissioner Cavell, support from Commissioner Jackson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, communications are approved. We move on to our first agenda item from the Michigan State Police for the 2022 High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Program. Who would like to make a motion? Motion by Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner Nelson, and our undersheriff is here to explain a little bit more about the program.
I actually have Gaia should be on the line also.
Oh,
I'm not
hi
sure
Gaia.
what number she is.
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Morning. You are caller number one.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're just asking if we can accept this grant. I think it's a renewal, our HIDA grant, which our net unit utilizes for drug trafficking, and I believe we use it just for overtime for these types of cases.
Yes, it's overtime and communication. So the majority of it goes to overtime. It's the same amount as the award last year, so it's pretty much just just renewing it for the next year.
Thank you. This is a request to accept funding in the amount of $135,000, and I think we can all agree that we will accept money. Any other comments or questions? All right, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a quick question for clarification. The subrecipient agreements, how are those units of government determined? So it looks like we've got Auburn Hills,
They're all
Birmingham. I'm sorry, Gaia?
Yep, they're all participants. They're all participants in net. So it's the net officers that we have from there. So each one of them gets a portion of the overtime.
I
But
see.
we have to have, because the money comes through us, we have to have the subrecipient agreement with them. But our net auditor is the one that tracks all of the dollars and all of their overtime.
Excellent. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
Any other questions? All right, prompt the vote, please.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
All right, the motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item from the Sheriff's Office is an interlocal agreement with the City of Lake Angeles for 2022 to 2024 Marine Patrol Services. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Hoffman. Anything you'd like to add about this agreement?
If you have any questions, we're going to start providing marine services for Lake Angeles once this is approved, so it'll only be partial this year since we're already into the summer, and then it'll be full summers the next 2 years.
Thank you. And it's for 400 years, or 400 years, 400 hours per year.
That's a
We
great
like to make
deal.
efficient use of our time.
That's right.
Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as a question, I know we've had lots of conversations, especially over the past couple of months with the Marine Patrol Unit. Is Lake Angeles, is it a new agreement, or have they previously had Marine Patrol services in the past?
I believe this is new. Gaia, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, yeah, excuse me, it's brand new.
Excellent. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anything else? Oh, Commissioner Cavell?
Yeah. So, how much is Lake Angeles putting into this as part of the contract, right? Isn't this, the sheriff does the work, but there's like a reimbursement of some sort for the services provided?
That, I believe they're paying for all of the services.
Yes.
right?
Well, there's a budget amendment
Yeah,
that
so the
says it.
Marine,
Yeah, help me understand, Gail.
yeah, so the marine rates that you approved at the beginning, well, a month or so ago before the voting season, the board approved those rates. So that's how we will bill them. So whatever hours they're saying that they want to use 200 hours, but we'll bill them on actual hours patrolled. And so it's set up with boat, no boat, depending on however many deputies they have. Obviously, we'll try to fulfill the 200 hours. That depends on weather, depends on everything else. But yeah, we will bill them just like we bill all the other agreements that passed. This just happened that they decided kind of later in the season that they wanted to contract with us, and so that's why we're here at this point and only doing a portion of this year.
Okay.
They follow the exact same rates that everybody else will or does.
So this is a revenue neutral thing then?
Yeah, we will bill them at the contracted rate for the services that we provide.
Okay. And then how many positions are open in the sheriff's office? If you're going to hire somebody, July 20th, don't you have like 80 positions open?
That's for full-time. We have a lot of full-time vacancies. For our Marine Division, I'd have to double-check. We use a lot of part-timers. I don't think we have nearly as many vacancies for our Marine Division.
But the turnaround time of hiring and onboarding someone will be in time enough for this?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And why was this not just part of the budget? Isn't this something, right, we're kind of getting into budget season?
It just came up when they asked.
Okay. And Lake Angeles is a public lake with public access or a private lake?
I believe it's all private with no public access.
So we're using taxpayer dollars to help support private people enjoy the lake that only they can go on.
They're paying for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, so.
So
like,
there's no
just 'cause they-
It
taxpayer dollars.
sounds like a
but you-
pass-through for it, that there's no cost to us. It's a service we're providing to residents in our community, whether it's private or public.
But I mean, our rates don't incorporate just the overall depreciation, so having to buy a boat because in 10 years we'll have used a boat more on Lake Angeles. It's also giving access to someone who already has access that could contract with someone private to do this. It just feels like we're helping people of means use the government at a discounted rate when other people could get this service that may not be, like the 400 feet of Cass Lake and others. So I'm gonna vote no
So the
no on
rates
this.
do include, The rates do include boat depreciation, boat maintenance, so the rate isn't just for the deputies' hourly cost. It's all built in. So we have that. We have body worn cameras. We have operating costs. We have all of that is built into the rate.
Understood.
And so we worked with Fiscal Services, and I believe we even put indirect costs in there this year. So.
Right. Okay. Well, so if we're going to do this then, so the depreciation and the costs of, say, the Marine Patrol unit is not so minimal that then the entire unit is revenue neutral. You ask for money from the county commission and the general fund to fund it, meaning that whatever the depreciation rate is does not, on the whole, equal out to being revenue neutral. Lake Angeles being a part of that equation now being added, especially as a private lake with only private access when the county sheriff's office is a public good for the public's use and benefit, seems one like something I don't believe our district or most of the people in our county would agree with in terms of a values perspective, and two, economically doesn't seem worthwhile.
I'm happy to support this. I think it's a service to a resident, whether they live in Lake Angeles or Lake Orion or Keiko Harbor. Any other comments?
Those are public access.
Any other comments? All right, prompt the vote, please.
You have 6 yeas, 1 nay.
All right, motion carries. Our next item is, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is from Health and Human Services. Thanks, Gab. Our grant application with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for the fiscal year 2023 Local Health Department Emerging Threats Agreement. Who would like to make a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Jackson, support from Commissioner, who would like to support? Commissioner Nelson. And we have Leanne Stafford here to address this item.
Good morning, everyone. So this grant here is our grant application for what they call now the emerging threats. The majority of the money that we're requesting is for COVID response. As you probably have heard, the COVID is starting to pick up again, right? We're starting to see more cases, and we do expect that we will be doing, quite a few COVID vaccinations and things in the fall, preparing for when school starts, and so expecting that we're going to be doing some major lifting in the fall again. This grant also allows us to do immunizations, contact tracing. This also is for us to continue our sewer work through our lab, which I know we've talked a lot about. And then if we have any kind of PFAS response, this allows us to be able to respond to PFAS if there is a detection in our county.
Thank you. Any questions about this item? Commissioner Kuhn?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. How much are you doing contact tracing now?
We're still doing contact tracing. So the majority of it is following up with a survey to close contacts. We do have a nice tool that we use. It's a computer-based tool that, notifies people, checks in on them. And so we do monitor that. There's like a dashboard that we can look at to see when people have responded or not. Our counts are lower right now. But when we expect in the fall that will start to increase. And so we really focus around high risk. Some, like I said, kind of the high risk population, and sometimes the younger ages, and just making sure and checking on people to make sure, number one, they're doing okay, and if we need to follow that investigation.
Yeah, just one follow-up. So do you have some sort of paradigm or written document that determines who you are actually checking on?
I would have to check with the team that does that. I know we have policies in place that indicates, who we do contact tracing with. The state too, may ask us to do an investigation or contact tracing with a certain group. I know we do a lot around nursing homes and long-term cares. That's a big focus of ours. Just ensuring, that people, especially in those congregate settings, that they're being followed up with. I can have a conversation with that team and provide some feedback on that.
Thank you very
Follow
much.
up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? All right, prompt the vote, please.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is a resolution authorizing submission of the 2022-23 Oakland County Child Care Fund Annual Plan and Budget to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Cavell, and John Cooper Ryder. Oh, we have a few people here to address this item. So Melissa and Heather also, thank you. Welcome. Anything you'd like to add about this?
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Cooper. I'm the business manager for the Circuit and Probate Courts. Also here today are Tom Shire. He's the director of our local MDHHS. Heather Calcaterra, you can see her, and from manager of the Children's Village. Melissa Reed, our chief of casework services here at the court. And Christina Bujak, who's our chief of court business operations. And I think Lori Strong is also here she's also with Children's Village. We're seeking your approval today to submit the FY 2023 Child Care Fund budget to the state of Michigan. As you can infer by listening to all the individuals present, it's a very collaborative effort between the Circuit Court, County Executive's Office, Children's Village, and the state and county local MDHHS offices. The Child Care Fund's a special funding arrangement between the county and the state, which was established by statute, where child care costs are split 50-50 between the state and the county. The funding is mostly for placement costs as well as program service costs for youth in both child protective proceedings and in delinquency case proceedings. All costs are for youth that are under the Circuit Court's jurisdiction only. Up until FY 2021, the county always paid 100% of the youth costs up front, and then the state would reimburse 50%. Then along came the state pays first legislation, and under that legislation, the child protective proceeding cases only, the state now pays 100% of the costs up front, and the county reimburses 50%. Those are for neglect cases. For delinquency cases, the county still pays 100% up front, and the state reimburses 50%. For purposes of this plan and budget, the costs are broken down into 3 areas. We have our in-home care costs. We have our private placement out-of-home care costs, and then we also have our facility costs, which is our Children's Village. Our in-home care services are provided as an alternate to out-of-home care. We have 5 different in-home care programs that we've developed over the years that we use. We have the intensive probation, the reentry program, the juvenile drug court, wraparound, and we have a new one this year that as long as it all gets approved, is the juvenile mental health court program. These are all designed to help keep the youth in their home and in the communities to try to avoid the more costly out-of-home care placements. So the bottom line for FY 2023, the Child Care Fund budget reflects gross expenditures of $32 million approximately, and with a net expenditure of about $28.2. These expenditures are all already included in the county executive's recommended budget. They're just packaged a little bit differently for submission to the state. It also reflects $1.94 million in neglect and abuse expenditures, which represents the county's 50%. So we're looking for your approval to submit this to the state, and here to answer any other questions that you may have. Thank you.
John, what would be an example of a private placement?
Well, we use Crossroads for Youth. That's one. That would be. We also use Wolverine, Boys Town. So we use quite a few different ones. Melissa, who am I missing?
We use Spectrum Human Services as well, and Bethany Christian Services. Those are the programs that we're currently using, in addition to the ones John named.
Thank you. Are there any other questions related to Children's Village or the court services for our younger population? All right, prompt the vote, please.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Well, thanks for bringing everybody.
All right, thank you. All right, have a good day.
Thank you. Our next item is a resolution approving the appointment of a district court magistrate, Cody Elwanger, from the 52-1 District Court in Novi. I have a motion by Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner Cavell. So, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having us out today. I came to present our newest selection for magistrate, Cody Elwanger. He was interviewed by myself and Chief Pro Tem Judge Bondi. We were seeking a magistrate to assist particularly on our weekend arraignment program that services several district courts, not just the 52nd. That program is, we do a lot of arraignments on the weekends, and it's very difficult to get, first, a magistrate that lives in Oakland County that is willing to no longer practice in the 52nd District Courts. They're giving up a lot of work if they decide to take this, that wants to work weekends. It's become pretty difficult, so I was very pleased that he had put in for the position. He worked for Judge Costin for 4 years in the district court, so he's very familiar with district court operations, and we thought he was a great candidate, so I'm presenting him to you today.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
The weekends must be your forte.
I certainly do not mind, to say the least. Just the opportunity to be here, it's more than I can ask for. So,
Nice, thank you. Are there questions or comments? All right, I do appreciate you coming so we
Charlie.
could meet
Charlie's
you.
got a question.
Yeah, yes, Commissioner Cavell?
Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as
So
well.
I see on your resume it says that you represented insurance entities and their agents. Can you talk more about that experience and
of course.
overall?
So I currently represent a few different auto insurance carriers. It's all PIP and BI accident-related issues, but a bulk of my representation is actually in Wayne, Macomb County. So really, this works out great. But no, like I said, I represent the insurance companies, and typically they're fraud cases.
Okay.
So it's very interesting. There's never a dull moment, but
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
of course.
And any other comments? Commissioner Powell?
Just briefly, can you just let us know for public records, some of your background, if you, because I know we get it in our packet, but just tell us a little bit about yourself so public would know. Thank you.
Of course. So, as Ms. Black stated, I worked at the 52-2 District Court for 4.5 years. I was the judicial law clerk for Judge Costin. I worked closely with her, with the other judges at the 52nd District, as well as the magistrates, court staff, law enforcement. It was hands down the greatest opportunity and blessing I could have had. It helped me through law school. It taught me so much, helped me grow up. But it really instilled a passion to be a contributing member in our legal system. I take great pride in being an officer of the court, and serving the public was also one of the greatest things I could ask for. Part of why I love this opportunity is because I get to have that opportunity again. And I want to promote, the judicial system that we deserve, that our society, community deserves. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem like the judicial system is on everyone's side, but I think criminal justice reform is awesome. I think it just needs to be implemented properly and followed, and that's my goal.
And you stated that you were already previously working at the courthouse, the
That's correct.
current one?
That's
And you
correct.
said you was there for 4 years?
Yes, 4.5.
Okay, so that's good. I like that we're kind of going with someone too that has been in there, familiar with what's going on over there. So-
I agree. That was part of the draw for us as well. I can't state enough that on the weekends, it's, you're making very quick decisions on people's lives. And, we want to make sure that somebody's finding the right balance and protecting the community and the victims, but also making sure that rights are ensured for all of the people that come in front of the magistrate. So I oversee the program. That's why I'm presenting him. So he's not really a 52nd First Division. He's a 52nd magistrate. But since they all report to me and I work every weekend with that program, it was really important to me because, complaints, if there's an issue, complaints come to me. I want to make sure that we're representing everyone as a whole. So that's why we selected him.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, did I see your hand up?
I was waving to Rudy.
Oh, thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, Commissioner Jackson?
And this might be a little bit frivolous, but what position did you play in football? I mean, you're a 3-year starter, so that speaks a lot.
Thank you. I played strong safety.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just one of those crazy guys that like to run around and hit people.
Nothing wrong with that.
Worked out okay.
Good job, Lisa.
All right. Anything? Prompt the vote, please.
We have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, a
Thank you. We can
unanimous
get them
vote.
started
Thank
right
you.
away.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. Thanks
Come on,
so
we'll
much.
get you on for this weekend. Let's go.
All right.
All right, our last scheduled item on the agenda is a resolution appropriating the American Rescue Plan Act local fiscal recovery funds for the Oakland County out-of-school time learning supports investment.
Can you say that fast 3 times?
I can.
Thank you very much.
We need a motion. Motion by Commissioner Jackson, support from Commissioner Cavell. And there's also an amendment, but, so Alice would love to hear more about this item.
Okay. I'm Alice Audi Figueroa, and I work for the county doing ARPA considerations. And today we're talking about out-of-school learning supports. I think it's been fairly well documented, the effect of COVID on students' learning, and some people call it learning loss, some people call it learning delay. We spend some time and consideration trying to figure out what role, if any, should the county be playing in addressing these issues, particularly because each school district got ESSER funds, their own version of ARPA money, and the county really doesn't have an obligation to educate its K-12 students. So we spoke to the ISD, we spoke to places where kids go. So we looked at programs that the schools run out of school time. So that might be a summer program, that might be a latchkey, that might be an after-school program. And we talked to those folks and we said, do kids come? And if they don't come, why don't they come? And so some of the reasons that we were told was that there's either a transportation issue or in some cases, a program, particularly during the summer, might end at 3 o'clock and working parents have difficulty picking up a kid at 3 o'clock. So there seemed to be some supports that we might be able to assist with. We then talked to places where kids congregate. So the YMCAs, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the city-run latchkey programs. And when we spoke with those folks, what they said was, what would be great is if we could run some best practice programming for the kids that are already here. So we invited United Way and their subject matter expert, who's on the line, Ellen Gilchrist, to help us think about how would we be able to support folks. So what we came up with is what is before you, which is to have a competitive process where, folk, I guess it's school districts, nonprofits, city-run programming like libraries, could submit a proposal, it would get evaluated, there would be a rubric, it would be similar to the way the nonprofit grant was run, And we would then be able to support where things are already happening. So we're not creating a new way of trying to pull kids together. We're either going where they are already, or where programs exist already where they need more kids to show up. So that is basically what we have before you. We knew that we needed to bring in subject matter experts because we want to make sure that we are using best practice or evaluation-based programming where appropriate. The program could be on-site at schools, off-site with out-of-school time providers, or non-traditional providers. Again, thinking about rec centers, libraries, things like that. We didn't want to exclude it. We wanted to broaden the net as much as possible. So that is what we have before us.
So Alice, this includes tutoring and other programs? Is it limited to particular programs?
No.
Okay. In the past, we've had a presentation from Beyond Basics, which is a tutoring program, which
Yes.
sounded amazing. So I don't know the status of Beyond Basics, whether it's a profit or nonprofit. Would they be eligible to apply?
So Beyond Basics, and my experience with them is limited. I know that DPS-CD is spending a lot of their ESHER money on Beyond Basics, bringing them into the school day. So if Beyond Basics was to partner with either a school district for out-of-school support, or with a latchkey, or with a Boys and Girls Club, or with the YMCA, you know, that kind of program, where they would actually be the program deliverer, but they would partner with somebody who already has the kids there. We don't think it would be helpful to try to create something where you're now trying to gather kids. And so, yes, so that would be appropriate if they were partnering with an existing entity, and we would encourage that kind of partnership.
So we're meeting the kids or our students where they're at.
Exactly. And trying to support their families and making sure they can be where these
Yes.
programs are at.
Yep. Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How will this grant opportunity be advertised for schools, nonprofits?
So what we've done before, and what I would encourage all of us to do again, is we obviously posted on the county website, which I understand is not going to attract very many people. We send it out to anyone who's ever had a grant from United Way. So there's a whole database of those folks. I would strongly encourage all of the commissioners to make sure that people in their districts know about this opportunity, and we would have a flyer ready to go, so you wouldn't have to be trying to explain it. That would be part of our obligation, is to make sure that there is good information to be distributed. I think we probably should have a conversation with Chalkbeat and other places where where providers normally look for this kind of information. Obviously way open to anybody who has ideas about where we've missed before and how we don't repeat any possible mistakes.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. So the flyer you'll be sending to all the commissioners?
That's right, Ellen, right? Yes, we will.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell?
That's right. On the flyer, is there any way we can include a QR code? And the only reason why I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying that, because we know a lot of people kind of shift into just hitting the QR code. It comes straight up on their phones. It's just easier access, and I'm trying to get that with a couple other requests here, because I'm seeing people kind of using that more often. And it's easier for us when we post it, because sometimes we get information that is not in post form.
Yes.
And then that takes time for us to be playing with it, and I'm going to be honest, I don't post it. So I try to get something that is easy. We can just post it. That QR code, it'll help us as commissioners too. And if stuff come kind of flyer ready with the information in a format, so all we got to do is screenshot it and put it up,
Okay, so
Because sometimes too, when we try to share it, that's another
It's
headache.
easier. Yeah,
You know what I
it's easier
mean?
under the
So
QR code.
I'm just trying to get us kind of to start putting QR codes on stuff now too. Thank you.
yeah, and if anybody didn't hear Ms. Gilchrist, she said yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Cabell?
How big
Sure.
do you anticipate the grants being per organization?
So we were going to do a tiered approach like we did with the nonprofits, so up to 100,000, and then 100 to 200, I think, and 200 to 400, so no more than 400.
Okay. And so then the focus, though, is making sure you're concentrating the effort, not like kind of spreading thin.
Say that again?
You want to concentrate the effort, so making sure that,
Well, the reason we would stratify it is,
Yeah.
if you don't stratify it, then sort of like the big players, they
Yeah.
have grant writers and they know how to do this system, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're a smaller organization but doing good work and just building yourself up, then you might apply for a smaller grant. And you also don't want to be judged on, if my whole budget's only $2 million, I can't handle $400,000 in a year, right? So that's why we stratify it. And we also want to be as inclusive as possible. So if there is a smaller city or smaller organization, that they're not overwhelmed by competing with,
Right.
the YMCA or West Bloomfield School District or something.
gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. I really like the idea. Any other comments or questions? I also have an amendment to bring up regarding this item on the resolution that would involve an oversight ad hoc committee consisting of 2 Oakland County Commissioners from the majority party, 1 Oakland County Commissioner from the minority party, and 2 representatives from the Oakland County Executive Office. Are there any comments on the amendment or a motion?
I'll make a motion. to
All right,
support the
motion by
amendment.
Commissioner Nelson, who just said support.
I'll support.
Support by Commissioner Cavell, thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is the exec's office okay with this? They like
It's
that?
friendly, yes, friendly amendment.
Commissioner Kuhn?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you for this amendment, because the initial resolution had absolutely no commission oversight. However, and I will vote for the amendment, but I still do not believe this is adequate commission oversight, so I'm not going to vote for the full motion. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, prompt the vote on the amendment.
You have 7 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, the amendment passed. Anything else on our, yes, original resolution? As amended? Prompt the vote, please.
Moment. It's getting there.
Good for
There we go.
Richard Pale.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda too.
And who?
Brenda Williams, Power Girlhood.
And then,
We have 6 yeas and 1 nay.
All right, motion carries, and again, I think it's a wonderful idea and valuable use of our money, so thank you for your work on this.
Thank you very much for your consideration. We look forward to reporting back and letting you know what happens.
Thank you. Oh, Commissioner
just
Powell?
one question. That one you said was 100. Is it anything less than that though? Like up to 100?
Yeah, it's up to
Okay,
100.
it is.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
up to 100.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I'm about to say I know all of them ain't gonna qualify for that.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Because we got a lot of companies they smaller.
Our last item is public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Oh, thank you. Welcome.
Yes. I got that check that Belinda printed up for the crowd. Oh, good.
So it's, thank you for your time. I appreciate the amendment to provide some county oversight for the proposal you just voted on, but it's not sufficient. It doesn't meet the basic financial requirements of a fiduciary of public funds. And so there's so many of these proposals that are being done in closed meetings, unrecorded meetings, that is not giving the citizens their due right under the intent of the Open Meetings Act, which gets manipulated right and left around here. It's very frustrating, and I find it very disconcerting that so many maybe just don't know because of the way the county is being managed and micromanaged. There are certain ad hoc committees that unless you sat in that committee, You will not know the details. And when it moves to the next committee, it's not the same. It may have evolved. It may have been completely rewritten. In fact, the logo, there were 2 documents that were completely rewritten during the meeting, pushed to another meeting without even advising the commissioners. So there's too many things that I see that are very inconsistent in what I consider transparent government. I don't know how else to put it. I was a business person. I started my own business when I couldn't get a job. I survived the 80s when they're saying, yes, the economy's like back then. Well, I guess I started a business during that back then period, as it turns out. I didn't know it at the time. But what is necessary to create positivity in our community is the opposite of the programs you're putting in place. You don't create jobs by having government-imposed taxes. The tax and spend policies have been used over decades and decades. They have never worked. The documentation, the math, it's all there. It proves it doesn't work. California energy doesn't work, especially when you try to apply it to Michigan climate. It's ridiculous. We have so many things that are being adopted from California models that they're like the worst ones to use as your pilot program example. It's kind of what not to do. But for the senior ad hoc, why did we choose San Francisco Blueprint for Aging as our start point, for example? I don't understand that. Why are we looking to land banks that don't work in other areas? Because it actually removes the opportunity for low-income citizens to afford a home. My first home was a HUD house. It was trashed. It looked like somebody worked on a motorcycle in the kitchen. I used a Reader's Digest Fix It Yourself book to fix it myself. That existence of that entire system no longer exists because the land banks put it in the government's hands. So all the citizens that used to be able to have that opportunity to build equity, and which equity is ownership, by the way, to build the equity through their work, that is being eliminated by the government taking it over.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Anyone else for public comment?
Ross Baranco, Novi. I just wanted to comment on the QR code. I get QR codes on my phone, but I use my phone to scan the QR code. So if it's an image on my phone, I have to go to a PC somewhere and bring it up on the PC so I can scan it with my phone. What's better is an embedded hot link that you can just touch, and it opens up your browser and opens it up right to your position so that you can use it on the smartphone as well as on a PC. It's more versatile than the QR code. The QR code can be an auxiliary thing to put with it, but it would be more efficient to have a hot link built into the announcements rather than the QR code. If you had to go one way or the other, it's better to go with the hot link. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak at public comment? All right, public comment is closed. There is no other business to come before this committee, so I will adjourn it at 11:54.
Thank you, Betty.